You're with Julian on the Brown Note and John Barilaro, the Royal Commission we need to have. And apologies for my fourth 2-week cold of this winter. So I don't know how my voice is going to go. We all know the story. John Barilaro rent seeks in his position as Deputy New South Wales. Creates all these trade positions, 500 grand a year. Creates one for New York. Immediately quits. His member of staff, Amy Brown, appoints him to his own role that he's created. And people go, what the actual F is going on here? The most brazen and blatant self-serving corruption we've seen. But it isn't the only one. And we need to have a look deeply, a deep dive. I love all these people saying, just let it go. Let Scott Morrison's things go. No, we want to stop it happening again. So we need a deep dive here into all of the appointments that are being made. All of these trade envoys, these people that wash up in ambassadorships for the rest of their life on foot. They're on like 600k and they get like 400k in benefits. I think the total public service debt in Australia is something like wages is something like $325 billion a year. Think I'm joking? We need to go through everyone that is made ambassador for some country and gets 600 grand. We need to go through all these trade jobs, these trade envoys that are on 500 and 600 grand and get another 500 grand in perks on top of it. And cost analysis, cost benefit. How much money are they bringing to Australia for what they do? What specifically are they doing? What's the monetary value of their role? We need to go through all of these appointments. As soon as the John Barilaro, I mean, like this Liberal gravy train that we need to run a Royal Commission on, is the only way we'll get that level of forensic investigation. This gravy train must hate John Barilaro, like he's some mafia don that brings the whole organisation down. You know, when they've got someone in like Casino or Goodfellas that doesn't know there's a mic in the ceiling and he's bitching about everyone and everyone gets busted because of him. It must be like that now. Important to note, our media were happy with all of this. Our media knew about most of it. And they've never done anything about it. The piece I did on Scott Morrison was about how enabled Scott Morrison had been his whole career by the media. Even going into the last election, there were 2 News Corp journalists that knew that he had taken over control of 5 or appointed himself to 5 ministries. Can you imagine that being Anthony Albanese? What would have happened? They kept it quiet. They all know. As soon as John Barilaro blew up, we had the next one blow up, which was the London appointment, which has already cost Stuart Ayres his job because he appointed the London one and was involved in the John Barilaro one. The New South Wales government's senior trade commissioner in London was recruited after being added to the process late and believed he had an elevated status that saw him threaten to go to the Premier, Dominic Perrottet, during contract negotiations. In a day of explosive evidence to the inquiry investigating John Barilaro's appointment to the New York Trade Commissioner, the Chief Executive of Investment New South Wales, Amy Brown, also revealed newly resigned Liberal Party leader Stuart Ayres told her the former Deputy Premier's appointment was good to go. Brown also told the inquiry about the appointment of the former head of New South Wales Business Chamber, Stephen Cartwright, as London Agent General or Trade Commissioner role. Brown said she was not involved in the selection process but understood the appointment came after another candidate had already been identified but was not deemed suitable. They had the first go at interviewing the shortlisting process and there was a front-running candidate. View was taken the person wasn't acceptable. Instead, Cartwright's name was added to the process late, after interviews had been conducted. If things were getting too difficult, Cartwright seemed to find it a bit of a go-to statement that he would go to the Deputy Premier or the Premier, she said. Brown later clarified the comment, and that Cartwright had said he would threaten to go to Peritet. He also is on 600k and complained that he wasn't getting enough money and he wanted 800k. These people get enormous perks on top of it. They get expenses. Some of these, a lot of the politicians might get 300k a year and claim 600k in expenses. This is a gravy train that needs to be forensically examined. They get perks like accommodation. They get perks like staff. They get obscene pensions. Look at someone like Joe Hockey. Joe Hockey lasted 2 years in his job as treasurer. He's now living the high life. The former treasurer could be raking in another more than $450,000 a year if he chooses to top up his salary with his political pension. Former Treasurer Joe Hockey has been urged to forego his government pension if he agrees to a lucrative role as Australian ambassador to the US, which he did. As Treasurer, Hockey railed against double dipping by mothers who claim both maternity leave from the government and their employers. But reported in the Sunday Telegraph, it's an option that may soon be available to him if he chooses to take a part pension on top of his $360,000 a year salary as Australia's envoy to the US. If he does, Hockey will secure more money in his new gig than he was paid as treasurer. Hockey enjoyed a salary of $365,000 as treasurer, but his pay was slashed to $200,000 after he lost his job. In his new job, he'll earn $360,000 as a public servant and live rent-free. He could also choose to claim a portion of his $180,000 a year pension to add on top of his salary. He could even take it as a lump sum. This is unbelievable grift. He was terrible as treasurer, and this is what he's got, a job for life. And is he representing Australia as well? The only time he's popped up in recent years is that he went in to bat for Trump denying Biden's election win. How bad a representation to America is Joe Hockey that he actually tried to deny Biden's election win. And we're paying him all this money to do it. Alexander Downer, he's in the UK doing whatever he does, or wherever he is now. I've lost track actually. He was the UK, he took up the post of Australian High Commissioner in London. George Brandis took it over from him. Tony Abbott was an official UK trade advisor. They just cherry pick all these appointments where they want to live. It's just like they do their tenure in office, and then they can have this candy store open to them, which is made out of money. Barry O'Farrell he lost his job. He resigned as Premier during an ICA scandal. It wasn't that big a deal, but he was appointed Deputy Chairman of the Australia-India Council. And then he was appointed Australia's High Commissioner to India, again on multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And what about the staff facilitating all of this? What about the ones putting all of the memos and the drawing up the contracts for these positions and appointing people and doing the interviews? They're up to their neck in it too. Look at Amy Brown. If you can believe this. Top bureaucrat known for her Jesus management style tells why she took her colleague's $500k dream job in New York off her and gave it to John Barilaro as her own jaw-dropping taxpayer salary is revealed. She said she bases her management style on Jesus. I'm not sure what part of her engagement with her current role you would describe to being like Jesus. Miss Brown, who was thrown into the spotlight this month over her role in the controversial new job, gave an extensive interview in February about how her faith inspires her. What would Jesus do if he were me in these life circumstances, in this job, with this issue before me, serving the people I lead? Miss Brown joined the New South Wales Public Services 600 Club in 2022 with a pay rise seeing her collect $614,000 a year on the taxpayer to give her boss a job in America. You couldn't make this stuff up. She was CEO and secretary in her role. She had two roles. Apparently the CEO is to report to the secretary in her role. You do the math on that. Has anything happened during her tenure that could probably be considered problematic and require a review from an independent person? She was both roles. And guess what? She's hardcore religious. How many of these people, are they just like passing jobs amongst themselves like communion plate? I mean, look at Peritet. His is coming here. I mean, how far have these religious types infiltrated the gravy train? Speaking of which, Scott Morrison declares war on overpaid public servants in a huge shake-up. Fordham reckons $327 billion of taxpayers' money. I don't know if that's a year, actually. I imagine that's over a period of time. But as Scott Morrison pledged, the department budget is $327 billion. And here's Scott Morrison's going on Ben Fordham's show and actually claiming that he's going to, stop this gravy train. Let's have a look at Scott Morrison's performance in stopping this gravy train. The Commonwealth Ombudsman called for a review of hundreds, if not up to 1,000, of the Prime Minister cabinet appointments, of a review of hundreds of Prime Minister and cabinet appointments, including by Scott Morrison over concerns key officials have been illegally appointed. The Ombudsman's directive, sparked by an illegal Morrison appointment, includes every appointment made by Morrison in his 4-year term as Prime Minister. The revelations come as the nation reels from news the Prime Minister secretly appointed himself to 5 ministries. The Ombudsman's directive was the outcome of a secret investigation concluded in December so why wasn't this made public before an election? Into Morrison's PM, Prime Minister, and having illegally appointed a senior bureaucrat to 2 jobs at the same time. Under remuneration tribunal law, it's illegal for a full-time federal government employee to be paid for any other government role. As previously revealed, Chris Jose, a key executive of the media regulator Australian Communications and Media Authority, had also been illegally paid as a part-time commissioner of the National Competition Council. The Ombudsman says the investigation identified a potential gap in the process of appointing an individual to more than one position. So they're now reviewing, hopefully, up to 1,000 appointments that came under Scott Morrison's watch. So imagine what else is going on. All of the contracts that they give for their mates. Go back to John Howard. Go back to the fact that Australia is giving so many of its mineral resources and gas away to foreign entities and multinationals. This is all part of it. We need to audit what these people have done. This is something that is... You get people like Eddie Obeid on Labour doing really corrupt stuff over property deals, but this is something that is symptomatic of the right of politics, because they're the ones that want to privatise everything. They're the ones that feel entitled to public money. Their entire job is to transfer public money into their or their friends' hands. And we need to look at politicians' wages. Why do they get $350,000 a year and then at least the same in expenses? This is bringing the wrong people into politics. This encourages the wrong people to be in politics. It encourages bad decisions that benefit the system. And if people are behaving badly, they know they're going to be rewarded later. I keep saying the Liberal Party is the only job you're guaranteed a pay rise when you lose it. And people are encouraged to fall on their swords for other people. Let's audit all these people that have fallen on their swords for people like Scott Morrision, going back years, and see where they washed up. Have they washed up in a 500k job somewhere? There are promises being made here. This is terrible for the country. This is the infrastructure of our country. This is our foreign front to other nations. This is our future building, is being defined by these rent-seeking cowboys. This is a cancer on democracy.